Got plans for you today, but first we got to do chores. That's what's going on today on Farmertylerranch. The truck says it's 40 degrees this morning. I don't know if I agree with that. It feels colder to me. We did have some frost this morning, and I mean, I guess I'm not wearing a jacket, so it's not terribly cold, but it's definitely not grass growing weather either. Actually don't have any bales to set out here at the ranch this morning. I just have to take one to the winter pasture and one to the steer pasture. All right, the salt block feeder's a hit. Look how much salt you guys have eaten already. Yeah, he says that's the good stuff. You guys remember I just built the salt block feeder a couple days ago, and look how much salt they've already eaten off of this one. And you can tell they've been biting it off of this corner here. When they lick it, they make a nice smooth divot, as you see here, but the way this corner is all kind of broken off looking, they've been biting at it there. And I guess if they're biting at the blocks, they either just really like them or they really need them. Morning, boys. Ready for breakfast? Are we not hungry this morning? Guess that's how I know they're getting enough. Piece here. All right, I'll rake the rest of that up for you later. And while I'm down here, I'll check my trap. Oh, looks like the trap had a good night. Oh man, no, I like it. Holy smokes. There. I put the Good Nature trap here, I think it was day before yesterday, or when was it? No, it was longer than that. Maybe it's been here for 3 days. So the first day it didn't catch anything. The second day it caught one, and then last night it caught 4. So far in this spot we've gotten 5 mice, and I think I'm gonna leave it right where it's at. I hate sounding like a salesman, but if you are interested in getting a trap like that, there's a link to Gallagher in the description below, and that's where you get them. Last guys are you guys, so get the pitchfork and get to it. I do not know why, but this other feeder, there's always more hay left in this one. They must not be able to reach it as well, or they just prefer that other one for some reason. I have no idea, but there's always way more hay in this one. So people do from time to time ask me, how do I like my new feeding setup with round bales as opposed to small square bales? And the answer is simple. I love it. It's, for me, on my operation, I probably should have done this years ago. The bad thing about it is you have to change your infrastructure a little bit to be able to feed round bales, but it's a lot less work. I think it's better. It's a better way of feeding for the cattle, to give them a couple days where they can just eat as much as they want, and then you only kind of restrict them on one day, at least the way I'm doing it. I think that's better than restricting them every single day. And today would be the day that I'm restricting them, and you can see how much hay they are still getting. They still have left over. And I think what really tells the tale is the fact that they don't really rush the feeders. It's just kind of like, yeah, if he's putting hay in there, I guess we'll go eat it. I know I've said it before, but it's worth repeating. In my area where I live here in Northern California, round bales are basically non-existent. I have them, and the guy that I bought my baler from about a half an hour away has them, and we're pretty much the only two within I would say 100-mile radius, maybe further, I don't know. So needless to say, when I bought my round baler, a lot of my friends and the guys that I know around here, they didn't come right out and say it, but I know they thought I was crazy for doing it. And looking back, it's one of the best decisions that I made. So that just kind of goes to show you, sometimes you got to follow your gut. And even when people think you're crazy or stupid for trying something different, maybe it wouldn't work for them, but maybe it'll work great for you. And as I'm walking over here to get a camera set up, I remember another thing that people said I was crazy for doing, and that was trying to handle round bales with an 8N. And again, to be fair, if you guys remember when I got this tractor home, it was in pretty rough shape. But after a lot of elbow grease, a lot of hours in the shop, finally got this thing up to where I can use it. And that being said, this is an old tractor. I'm always worried I'm gonna hit my head on that. And it could break down any minute. But still, for the amount of work that I put into it and the amount of work that I've gotten out of it, I'd say I'm doing pretty good. The point of me saying all this, just to be clear, it's not, hey everyone, look how great I am. That's not what it is at all. But I've just, this was just kind of on my mind this morning. And the point of it is that if you, watching this, have some sort of crazy idea or crazy dream that you've always wanted to try to do, don't let anyone stop you. Don't let anybody tell you that you're crazy. They will, but everybody tells you you're crazy until you succeed, and then you're a genius. So that is my inspirational message of positivity for this morning. I hope that if anybody out there watching needed to hear something like that, they heard it. Well, you can tell by the fact that they're not rushing the trailer that they're not starving, but they are coming over here, so maybe they're a little bit hungry, but Callie, what are you doing? What's going on here? You going out? In the past, you guys have seen me check the status of the water table over there in the pond. But one thing that I haven't looked at in a little while is if there's any water here in what we call the cut. The levee cut, as we call it, is basically a trench or a canal right at the toe of the levee. And I believe what I've been told, and it makes perfect sense, that's where they got the dirt to make the levee. So they would just sort of excavate a spot there, pile it up here, and then when these river bottoms flood, if they flood, the cut will be the first thing to fill up because it's the lowest, obviously. So it's just sort of another indication of where our water's at. It's actually pretty rare for the water to get this high, but you can see there's a measuring stick here for when the water does flood, and they just use this to sort of monitor how deep it is right here. actually surprised I didn't jump a bunch of ducks out of here. So there is a little bit of water in the cut, but it's not consistent. This is just a deep spot right here. You can see down further, it's dry. This is really nothing to worry about, but just something that I like to keep an eye on. You don't see them. Just rolled into the steer pasture here, and I don't see the boys anywhere, but I'm sure they're here somewhere. They're probably on the other side of the hill. But I wanted to show you guys something. You can see this grass here. This is ryegrass. It's starting to head out a little bit, and all this stuff is getting tall, right? And to me, that indicates that I can start stretching these bales out a little bit more. I've been bringing one every 5 days, and this one I stretched to 6 days, so we'll see if there's anything left in the feeder and how eager they are. But if it looks like I can get away with it, I think I can go 7 days with these guys. Because as you can see, they're not taking full advantage of the grass that's growing out here. So I'm gonna make a wager that they're not in this pasture, although they could be. There's a bunch of trees and brush down there where they do sometimes like to hide, but I'll go ahead and close this gate right now, so when I come up with the bale, they can't get in my way. Are you driving? Well, there they are. So, looks like about half of them are in the second pasture, half of them are in the third pasture. Our feeder is out in the first pasture, so that's good. I got them locked right where I need them. Okay, go get it. Go get it, boys. What are you waiting for? Feeder's full, guys. Well, chores are finally done, so now I can get on to the chores that I've been looking forward to doing today, and that is working on this tractor. Today, my main goal is to get the rear end of the tractor up on stands, get these back tires off of here, so let's get to it. Oh, going this way too. That's the one I'm looking for. That ought to work perfect. We're gonna mark it 7 inches. Where's the 7? Do you see a 7 on there? There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's that? That's right. There's a 7. Cut it right there. Got it. Thanks for your help. You're a good worker. Are you done helping? Okay. Thank you. I'm tired. Yeah, it's a hard day, huh? Okay, thanks for your help, honey. Well, these stands are super basic, but they ought to work great for what I need them for. But I got to thinking about it, and before I bolt these on the tractor, I think I want to go under there with the wire wheel and clean up the mounting surface where these are going to go and get some primer on them, because I just started thinking I'm going to do a lot of the cleanup work and the primer and probably the paint as well with the stands on. After I do all that stuff and take the stands off, I don't want a big rusty spot that I have to rework. So we'll do a little bit of that work right now, and then we'll slap these on. Well, we got one on, so that's good progress, but I knew that this tire would come off the ground first when I lifted the tractor in the middle, and that's because this one just has air in it, and I know that this one has water in it, so this is a lot heavier. I'm hoping that I can get the jack scooched over far enough to get the amount of leverage that I need to tip it up where it needs to go. But I'm gonna need some blocks, and this is gonna be a little more is gonna go into this side, we'll put it that way. So the idea I came up with seems a little dangerous, but it also seems like it's gonna work perfectly. So we're gonna try it. Got this. Well, we're off the ground. Now I just got to get the tires off, and I'm thinking I want to do the heavy one first because this is going to be harder. So let's do the hard one first. It'll be out of the way, and then the easy one will seem that much easier. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Seems ready to come off. This won't be that easy. Clear. This way. Roll out of here now. One down, and before we do the other one, I'm going to address a couple of comments that I'm sure to get. The first one will be, why didn't you let all the water out of that tire before you brought it into the shop? That's a fair question, and I probably should have done that. Honestly, it just never even dawned on me that that tire had water in it until I got it in the shop. The second question will be, why was that tire so overinflated? You saw the way the water shot out of there. Generally, tractor tires don't run on that high of pressure, but the reason why that one had so much air pressure and this one does as well is because I pumped these up. I overinflated them a little bit while I was rolling this into the shop because it makes it a lot easier to push the tractor. Another comment will be, you shouldn't let that calcium chloride or whatever it is that people put in tires, you shouldn't let that out on the ground. Well, I'm not. That's water. It's very uncommon for people to put anything but water in tires where I live. We live in a region where we really don't get hard freezes, and there's no danger of these tires freezing up. I also know that it's just water because my grandpa's the one that put it in there, and he was far too thrifty to spend money on anything that he could get for free. And while I was taking that wheel off, I noticed got a little bit of play here, and I don't think that's supposed to do that. So the to-do list grows. And less scary. Okay. So this side is a little bit loose too. Not as bad as the other side, but there must be a bearing or something in there that needs to be replaced. There it went. Still kind of sticky. And let's do one more thing. Every time I think that I'm done tearing this thing down, I go a little bit further and a little bit further, and
before you know it, this is what we got. So I actually, I'm not even gonna say that I'm done yet, because I know that I've got to take apart this rear axle a little bit more, figure out why these hubs are so loose, if there's a bearing that's gone bad in there. This one, it just looks like if I tighten this nut up a little bit, it fixes it, but that seems too easy. There's gotta be more going on there. So I need to do a little bit of research and look up in my manual some more about how all this stuff comes apart before I go tearing into it. But I think that's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.